No, but listen to, did you hear the press conference of Seleke Kromah, the IG? He did say that this is a highly political case, did he not? So you don't take the partisans' word for it, you take the IG's word for it.
We elect on 85 irresponsible men that want to happen to our country. We elect on 85 irresponsible men to govern this country, not to be very irresponsible.
Please place your left hand on the Bible being held by your wife, and you will kindly raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. All standing, please. I, Joseph Newman Boyka Sr.,
No secret now that your friend and former boss will be a candidate in 2029. With all of that you experience, all of that you know, and everything that you see unfolding in the country now, will you support him? Will you be part of the process? Will you give him the support? Do you think he can be a better president?
So why you want to bring political Benin in it now?
Oh, but political you're political man, before you go out, very active.
I plead the fifth again.
Okay. When 2029 come and pass, then you finally leave. Mission is completed. Now, what the rules of engagement? When the war ended, the guy said, the captain, the commander said, mission complete. There wounded out first. All men on board.
So, this riot situation when it comes to countries, because many times you notice that
if Charles Taylor is the problem, he will be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. And I say, let well-meaning Liberians come home. If we respect this constitution, a government formed in Accra is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. Let them come home. Let that government be formed in Monrovia.
On the broadcast administration, we want to give the government of Liberia an ultimatum of 72 hours to provide a living ballot of the chairman of the Student Unification Party, or else there will be a catastrophic pneumonia in the Republic of Liberia. To arrest the chairman of the Student Unification Party, only because the government feel intimidated about the Vanguard Party advocacies.
The government got capital road, small, big road, all kinds of place. I think the reason Joseph Baka will not do much because the old man, the papa is suffering. The papa loves the country, but he can't make it. The criminal there around him, they sophisticated than him. They are sophisticated criminals, so they can't make it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The old man loved the country, but he just can't make it. If you love your country, come on home, according to former President Charles Taylor. The present vice president says, when the war was over, the commander told his men, dead and wounded first, and all men aboard. An honorable court is saying the old man loves the country, but the criminals around him are more sophisticated than he is. Small road, capital road, big road. So we got a lot of development in the Republic. Obviously, I want to remind you, you need to share this show. The second hour, which is about 40 minutes from now, we'll be joined by our guest, to discuss issues pertinent to Liberia, not specifically Liberia, but leadership, governance, government, foreign policy, education, health, women's issue. So we are going to be discussing all of those things. If you have questions for our guest, it would be great if you put it in the comment section. And if we have time, we will open the phone line for folks to call in. I am Jerome Gayman, and I'm tuning in from the beautiful state of Florida. As I put the Miami Heat, the Miami Dolphins, and our soccer team. And we love the captain of our soccer team, Lionel Messi. We are having a great time. Florida is a great state of sports. On the college level, we have the University of Miami, the University of Florida, Florida State University, University of North Florida, University of South Florida. You name it. We are giants when it comes to athletics and academics. You can do both. Do us a favor, share this show. It is early. It is 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. You know, we went by 1 hour. So most people are still at work. And those who are fortunate to get out a little early will be now getting on the way home. So we expect our guests and some of our panelists to be here in time to discuss issues affecting us in the Republic of Liberia. Most of the folks that are on this platform, they are ordinary working folks. They don't have the luxury of coming here every day as you and I and few other folks would. This is a family platform. People earn, they make money the old-fashioned way. They earn it. They sweat. I am one of the few lucky ones that have a studio in my office. I am a business owner, so I can take time off anytime to do the things that I love doing. Like giving back to my country like I'm doing. The Tomalin judges of the world, the Victor Nagbe, an educator, these people actually work. It takes time to go to work, and after work, they come on the show to give back to their country. As you can see, Telvi does as much as she can. She also has a job. Sarah Dopoh, same thing. She has a job. These are regular folks. Ben Sanvee has a young family just like the rest of the guys. They have to work and put food on the table. So if you don't see them every day, it doesn't mean they don't care about you. It doesn't mean they have abandoned you. Now, by the stretch of an imagination, these guys and girls, there's something in this country they call the dignity of labor. If you switch to Spoon Network 24/7, you will see, most likely you will see Spoon there. Because Weatherspoon is serving his time in prison at home. He cannot leave. So he has no choice but to be there. So every time you turn on, he will be there. And you know the reason why he's been on a house arrest. Through the United States government, they are saying that he does not have the dignity of labor. He wanted to get rich quick. Without doing the corresponding energy spending that all these other people are doing. We spend time, energy, and effort driving back and forth, taking care of families, dropping the kids off a basketball game or soccer game and switching it off and coming out here to help bring the news to you. And you have to give them credit. So do us a favor, share this show. At 5 p.m., our guest is going to be here, a beautiful, brilliant woman. Hopefully, some of our leaders, lawmakers in the Republic will tune in to get a free tutorial on how allocations are done, how appropriations are done legally. I know when it comes to anything outside of Liberia, most Liberians do not have any interest. It has to be from Liberia, it has to be about Liberia, and it has to have a lot of noise associated with it. But there are times you have to be member of this global village. You have to tune in, you have to tap into these things. You want to know how other people are doing across the different borders. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she told me she was born in Brewerville. And prior to the war, she had never left Montserrat. She said maybe she went to Bomi. This says a lot about who we are as Liberians. There were kids born in Montserrat, in Monrovia specific, that have never left to go somewhere else because they feel all the way they were brought up that Monrovia was the Republic of Liberia. It's like if you left Monrovia, you would fall from the face of the earth. They had no reason to go to Nemba. They had no reason to go to Lofa. Had no reason to go to Wapolu. They had no reason to go anywhere else because they were self-contained in Monrovia, that little town. So I'm saying it is now time that we go across borders, different counties, see how the other folks live their lives. So while I'm here, I will do as much as I can to bring people from all over Africa to come in. And you should listen and see and grasp if there's life outside of Liberia. Last time you were here, you saw Dr. PLO, and from his lecture, you could tell what is going on in Nairobi, in Tanzania, in Uganda. He gave us the whole spectrum. This is a man who is well-traveled. And he is even advocating that Africans should be able to travel anywhere without the stringent restrictions of visas. So how could you be born in Monrovia and you spend your entire life in Monrovia? If you were privy to have left the country, you left Liberia, you went to either the United States or Great Britain or Germany or France, but never Grand Jile, never Nimba, never Bong. But the war, unfortunately, changed everything. We have internal migration like one you have never seen before. Forced us to know each other, at least if you wanted to survive. Liberia, we have to learn to expand our horizons. We have to be enlightened. By enlightenment, you acquire vision. Like the scripture says, where there is no vision, the people perish. What is Liberia's vision? We are 203 years old. This gone July, from 1822. What is our vision? What has been our vision? Share the show, get involved, tell someone else. You are not going to come here and insult each other. We will not allow that. Your opinion is as important as everybody else's. We respect each other. That being said, let's go over some of the topics in the Republic of Liberia real quick. The president of LFA, Raji, urges President Waika to appoint Liberian legends as sports ambassador or advisors instead of foreigners. Liberia Football Association LFA President Mustafa R. Raji has appealed to President Joseph Yuma Waika Sr., the chief patron of sports, to appoint one of the nation's legends as a sports ambassador or advisor on football-related matters in the executive mansion. Speaking Thursday at the close to a 10-day CAF CAF coaching education course attended by Randa Boyka, daughter of the president, Youth and Sports Minister Jerome Gayman, Raji emphasized the former national team players who dedicated their entire life and time and talent to Liberia deserve to serve in such capacities. This is the sports LFA's president. Do you agree with him? Instead of going and picking people from everywhere else but Liberia to be sports ambassadors, who in Liberia will speak better for the people than those who have lived bled, sweated, cried for their nation. Some have endured major injuries, ended their careers. They are legends. They're in the dozens. And he says we should appoint those folks to represent the Republic of Liberia as sports ambassadors. On the front page of both newspapers, Supreme Court questioned Pewee's immunity argument in the corruption case. November 18, 2025, Temple of Justice, Monrovia. The Supreme Court of Liberia has reserved its decision on a high-profile petition for a writ of prohibition filed by the former Finance Minister Samuel D. Peweee and 4 former officials following a tense hearing that revealed deep divisions over national security, secrecy, executive immunity, and financial accountability. During argument, newly seated Associate Justice Boyka Cannon pressed defense lawyer, Councilor Arthur T. Johnson, to explain why his clients had submitted to an investigation prior by the Liberian Anti-Corruption if, as they are now claiming, the matter falls squarely under national security. Great question. If you are claiming immunity, why you didn't do it across the board? Why go to one agency, appear, testify, then when it comes to the court, you say you won't do that or you shouldn't do that? Justice Cannon, who has been on medical leave since his August 20 commissioning, questioned how the defendants could raise national security for the first time at the Supreme Court, given that they have previously cooperated with LACC investigations. Councilor Johnson strongly argued, though, that prosecuting Peweee and his co-defendant is essentially equivalent to prosecuting former President George M. Weah. He cautioned that allowing the case to go forward could open the door for future governments to go after members of the Security Council for action taken under their presidential order. Presidential order performed while in office. He emphasized that revealing how funds were used for national security operation will compromise classified information and threaten national security. Former Associate Justice Wilkins, Michael Wright, also representing the defense, argued that only the General Auditing Commission and only under a president's order have the authority to audit classified expenses. He stated that the LACC lacked the legal power to investigate funds related to alleged national security issues. The defense requested the court to grant that petition and stop all lower court proceedings indefinitely. The prosecution cited simulcast precedents, but Montserrat County Attorney, Councilor Richard Scott Jr., representing the prosecution, argued, though, that the case is not about national security at all. He pointed to the Browning simulcast ruling, where the Supreme Court stated that subordinates may refuse illegal order even if such refusal cost them their jobs. Scott told the justices that none of the transfers in question were requested by the National Security, the National Joint Security, or even the FIA itself. He said the funds were instead diverted through FIA's operational accounts and disbursed among defendants, undermining the national security claim. He urged the court to reject the petition and allow the criminal proceeding to resume, saying they can have nothing to do with national security and everything to do with public financial accountability. This is getting interesting. We are quoting cases. In the news in Liberia, girls' rights group petition the UN says Liberia is failing to protect children from sexual violence. This is something that I took interest in because, as you know, I am an advocate for children. And a gentleman that has 3 girls, a twin girl and another girl and then a boy. Even without that, it's just the right thing to do. A 9-year-old girl led a protest in Monrovia on Monday, passionately pleading with the United Nations and accusing the Liberian government of leaving children vulnerable to predators who face no punishment. A 9-year-old baby taking her case directly to the United Nations. Reading a petition on behalf of women and girls across the country, Jorin Kula Molu, daughter of activist Mobile Molu, informed the UN Resident Coordinator's Office that Liberia's justice system is failing under President Joseph Yuma Boakai, enabling sexual abuse cases to go unpunished and allowing powerful suspects to walk free. We are begging for help because our safety is no longer guaranteed, she said, her voice carrying across the crowd. More and more young girls are being sexually abused, and our government is not protecting us, she says. She noted in the petition that over 2,000 cases of rape and sexual violence remain unresolved, with missing case files, halted investigations, and families pushed into silence. Survivors, the statement said, are often ignored when the accused has political ties. This is not a mistake, she said. It is a neglect. The child activist read, when someone close to the government is involved in a rape case, the case is ignored, delayed, or simply forgotten. This is a baby speaking, 9-year-old. She accused the government of forsaking them. She said the government is forsaking them. Kofa, Debbie, Kamara, Sibo plead not guilty in capital arson case. Temple of Justice, Monrovia, Liberia, former House Speaker J. Fonati Kofa, Representatives Jacob Debbie, Abu B. Kamara, and Dixon Sibo, along with several co-defendants, have pled not guilty to a series of criminal charges after months of legal back and forth that saw the case move from the Monrovia City Court to Criminal Court A and briefly to the Supreme Court. They pled not guilty, and the case continues. Crumbling traffic lights cripple Monrovia in Monrovia. Crumbling traffic lights cripple movement in Monrovia. Painesville police site rising danger as authorities blame vandalism, announce replacement. In April this year, residents of Painesville celebrated installations of new traffic lights at several very busy intersections, notably Dopoh Road, GSA Road, and Parker Penny Junctions. But less than 7 months later, the excitement had turned into frustration. The lights have fallen into disrepair. With no sign of restoration anytime soon, their collapse has sparked concern among commuters. Mm. 1 minute, please. Yes. But less than 7 months later, the excitement has turned into frustration. The lights have fallen into disrepair with no sign of restoration anytime soon. Their collapse has sparked concerns among commuters, pedestrians, motorcyclists, tricycle riders, and motorists who say the situation is increasingly chaotic and very dangerous. All the lights, pedestrians, and vehicles are always on the same time, said Aline Boluna, chairman of the Motorcyclist Park up in Junction. Even when a car is coming towards them, people think it is their turn to cross. It's causing confusion. He added that without functioning traffic signal, crossing the intersection has become a gamble. When the lights were working, there were regulations. When your time came, you crossed. But since they went off, it's risky for everybody who is riding. Another motorcyclist says, concerns calling on the government to urgently restore the light. We, the motorcyclists, are not safe. Pedestrians are not safe. This is a busy intersection. The government needs to fix the lights. Yesterday, we talked about the budget when we talked about no maintenance. We were not just making this up. This is the realities on the ground. Flomo also urged authorities to increase the timing interval once the lights are restored. We noticed that green time was too short. It caused traffic. They should increase the time to make the flow better. Now, without the light, the traffic flows, but it is risky. You drive at your own risk. Residents fear rising accident risk. Victoria Tumbe, a resident of Dopoh, said the absence of traffic signals has worsened the risk of accidents in Painesville, especially as more motorcyclists have shifted. They're following ban on bikes in central Monrovia. These lights were controlling the intersection, he said. The government needs to fix them. Even though I haven't seen a major accident yet, it is important to do it, just a matter of time. Public Works blames criminal vandalism. Benjamin Myers, communication director at the Ministry of Public Works, told Front Page Africa that the malfunctioning lights were vandalized by criminals who targeted the control panel. The panel box was vandalized, causing the light to malfunction. He said, we have informed the Liberia National Police and are working with them. After restoring the light, the police would need to be more vigilant. Every time the panels are vandalized, the light goes down. And that makes the road accident prone. We are talking about maintenance. You are building new buildings, you are buying new cars, you're buying new buses, and there's no money in the budget. There's no training for maintenance. Days of holding Islam hostage are over. Liberia's chief imam declares, pushes back against tribal politics, defends role in red light eviction. But critics says he failed his people. Chief Imam Ali Kwai is no stranger to controversy. But his remarks during an interview on OKFM on Monday, November 17, warning against tribal monopoly of Islamic leadership, he said, defending his role in the red light eviction crisis and reaffirming the push for Islam national holidays have reignited debate over the leadership, impartiality, and more authority within the Liberian Muslim community. In a country where Islam sits at the crossroad of identity, history, and politics, the chief imam declaration was bold. The days when Islam was held hostage for tribal or personal reasons are gone, he says. But even as he spoke of unity, the criticism mounted. The Imam cautioned those he described as backward elements, referencing especially the Mandingo community, accusing them of believing they exclusively own Islam. Islam is not a tribal religion. The progressive Mandingos may rein in those who discriminate, he said. The days when Islam was held hostage for tribal or personal reasons are gone. This statement struck a decade-old tension. Liberian Islam has long had Mandingo dominance at its top clerical ranks. Krayi, being crowned, was always considered an outsider to some. His rise was resisted. His leadership is still contested, and the red light crisis seemed to have become a flashpoint. He stressed that no individual or group would again be allowed to use Islam as a pretext to foment confusion or damage the relations and the religion's reputation. We will continue to work for Islam and for peace in the country, he said. No more will anybody be allowed to hijack the good image of Islam on any pretext. In the particular pointed message, Imam Krayi took aim at what he described as backward elements, the Mandingos, within the Mandingo community who act as though they are the sole custodian of Islam. He emphasized that the Muslim community must rise above tribal divides and uphold the universal principles of their faith. This is Imam Krayi. Elements of the Mandingos are backwards, and they want to hold Islam as their personal property, and he said that would not happen. The Mandingos, he claimed, have held Islam hostage in the Republic of Liberia for too long. He said, never again. Obviously, Islam in Liberia seems to have had a beginning to incorporate other tribes and other individuals into their faith. Krayi, being a crown person from Grand Jita, is not being accepted by the Mandingos, according to him. Real quick, Senator Myean raises alarm over U.S. $118 million domestic debt allocation, side risks of individual robbing the Republic of Liberia. Hey, this is Senator Myean. This one is too heavy. We're going to leave this for tomorrow. Senator Myean claimed that some of these domestic debt claims being raised for payment are dated as far back as 1974. And as such, the Senate will vet the names of businesses and individuals and their services rendered to the government before making any appropriation. Those who want to rob the government. This is a heavy one. We're going to leave it for tomorrow. Fatima Salih was widely criticized for lying on an oath on her academic credential when she appeared before the committee confirmation on October 22nd. The Senate Committee on Local Government, Peace and Reconciliation had conducted what critics call a stage-managed hearing for the confirmation of Deputy Minister Designate for Urban Affairs, Madam Fatima Bintu Salif, who lied on an oath during her first appearance before the committee. Madam Saleh was recently appointed to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and forwarded to the Senate for confirmation by President Joseph Yuma Boakai. She was widely criticized for lying on her oath on her academic credential when she appeared before the committee confirmation on the 22nd of October. She initially told senators that she holds a master's degree in social work with emphasis on mental health and substance abuse and a minor in urban development, a claim that has since stirred public debate and scrutiny over her accuracy. Senator Bravo Brown, chairman of the Committee on Local Government, questioned whether her academic background aligned with the duties of the minister. The Deputy Minister of Urban Affairs, giving her strong foundation in social work and mental health. This is embarrassing, but as usual, this is the Republic of Liberia. This is she being sworn in today as the Deputy Minister. In the next 5 minutes or so, our guest is going to be on. Let me recognize Martin Williams. Let me recognize the former Superintendent and Minister Julia Duncan Cassell. Let me recognize Spangle Coty, RIA. Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much for tuning in. With Jan Mabaro, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you are tuning in from your CDC corner. Billy Weir, good evening. I don't know where you're watching it from, but wherever you're watching from, thank you for tuning in. Let's share the show. Get involved, send some comments, send your questions. When our guest gets in, during the course of our interview with her, we will be taking questions from anyone who cares to ask. And we will move forward. We are talking about government. We're talking about governance. We'll be talking about appropriation and the art. You know, appropriation is an art and a science all into one. So Myean, keep your eye out for our guest. When she enters the studio, bring her on. Her name is Dolores Hawkins Johnson. And in 2019, she gave us her legislative update and accomplishments. She brought in over $124 million in funding to our local area. Treasure Coast International Airport, our local international airport, she was able to secure $2.2 million. To protect our waterway, she was able to secure $1.6 million. For transportation here, she gave us a grant for $2.5 million. Even for our little orchestra here for children, she was able to secure money for them. Our Sunrise Theater here, she's a big fan of the art. She brought in money for the theater. The Hiko Botanical Garden, she brought money for our garden. For the school readiness program, she brought in $10 million. Voluntary pre-kindergarten program, she brought in $5.9 million. Our Indian River State College facility here, she brought in $4.19 million to build a new facility on campus. Indian River State College, Florida College Fund System for the lottery, she brought in $6.2 million. Indian River State College, Florida College System Fund Program Fund, she brought in $43.65 million. Treasure Coast Food Bank, nutrition and wellness for the poor, $700,000. Hurricane protection, she brought in $2.6 million. The interstate highway reconstruction, our section, $6.88 million. And then when you go to Liberia and you talk to our lawmakers, they tell you, it is not my job to build roads. It is not my job to build schools. They tell you my cardinal responsibility is to make law and oversight. So we are going to be talking to folks who have worked in this industry that have brought in tons of money. Maybe we need to set up some kind of training. Folks can come to Capitol Hill or go to Tallahassee or go to different capitals and learn the craft. This woman was so feared, they used to call her the bulldog. She was a minority in a Republican-dominated cabinet. House and Senate controlled by the Republicans. She's an environmentalist. Committees that she had worked on. She worked on agriculture, natural resources. On that committee, she was a Democratic ranking member. She was also on the Education Committee, Energy and Utilities, Pre-K Quality Subcommittee. So everything that had to do with the environment, had to do with education, she was part of it. So Myean, please check back there and see if our guests have arrived and bring her on. When we are giving our flowers to good leaders, women and men. Are we still having technical difficulties in Monrovia? Welcome, Dr. Peabody.
How you doing, sir?
So far, so good. Please check in the back. Make sure our guest, when she comes on.
She is there. I don't know why the guy didn't. He's in the back.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want us to bring her on now?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
The Department of Justice that basically told Texas that its prior map was a racial term.
Somebody is that you, Peabody, your radio?
No, I don't have a radio.
Okay. Honorable Johnson, do you have a radio playing or something?
It might be in the other room. Let me go and cut it off. I'll be right back.
Honorable Johnson is in the house with us, and hopefully we can have her close her curtain because we get a lot of glare in the back. so we can begin the process. God, thank you for tuning in. Please share this show. Get involved. Honorable Johnson, if you could close your window curtain there, it would be nice so we can, there's a glare.
Glare. Okay.
Yes.
The Florida sunshine is going down, but it is.
Oh, I wish I had it on my end. It's already dark and it's already cold.
Is that a little better?
Yeah, a little better.
We can still see it.
Oh, I'm going to have to pull the darker curtains.
Please do.
Or move in another spot.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please do us a favor. Share this show, share this show, share this show. We will be reading your comments. If you have questions, put it in the comment section. We will read it. If we have time, we are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We will have time. We may open the line for a few phone calls. Are you ready, Honorable Johnson?
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Peabody, our guest, is in the house. She's going to introduce herself, but I know her to be Honorable Dolores Hogan Johnson. She's a politician, environmentalist, an educator, an AKA, you name it, she has all the title. Honorable Johnson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to dialogue.
Thank you very much. With me is...
You forgot to add, I'm a Bassa woman too.
Oh, you okay? She's a Bassa woman. That's correct.
Bassa, right?
Yes.
There you go.
My first journey there in 2004.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, and her name is Besama.
Besama. Bassa
There you
woman,
go.
right?
That's right. A woman from Besson. You know, we have Besson God, now we have Besama. And both of them are politicians and both of them are lawmakers. Excellent. Dr. Peabody, your guest is here. Honorable Johnson is our guest for the next 2 hours.
Honorable Johnson, it's a delight to have you here on behalf of the team here on the Closing Argument. We'd like to welcome you and looking forward to learning from you and, you know, asking you some questions. You come with very rich knowledge, and you've been watched in Liberia. You also on the two national radios in Liberia, and people all over Liberia are watching and listening to you here tonight. So we'd like to welcome you, and we look forward to a very fruitful dialogue. So welcome to the Closing Argument, Honorable Johnson.
Well, thank you.
Honorable Johnson, for those who don't know you, could you introduce yourself? Say a little thing about yourself.
I was born and raised, of course, in the United States, in the state of Florida, the county of St. Lucie. And I graduated high school, second in my class. I was salutatorian. My undergrad work was done at Fisk University, one of the legendary HBCUs here in the United States. I received my master's degree at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. And my educational certification for higher ed at Florida Atlantic University. But I've been a community activist. I prefer that much better than a politician. I've been very involved in voter education, voter registration, for I truly understand the power of the people and the education of the people. So I'm enthused. I just celebrated my 76th birthday. So I'm healthy and I'm still involved.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about your environmental pedigree.
I got involved in the Environmental Conservation Alliance here we have in St. Lucie County. As some may know, if you look at a picture of the United States and you see Florida, we are surrounded 3/4 by water. And we have the Atlantic Ocean on our east side and the Gulf of Mexico on our west coast, and then the Caribbean Sea at the bottom or the tip of Florida. I had come to learn very early that God has given us a beautiful earth, and we must be careful about preserving it and protecting it. I pray daily that God helps us to understand that the quality of our lives and the length of our days are predicated upon the quality of our air, our land, and our water. And if any of you, all you have to do is look at how much the powers that be have polluted and poisoned our air, our land, and our water. So we have to speak up. We can and we must be better stewards of what is left. And I cannot say that enough. And our oceans with the fish and, food. We have to grow things in a healthy earth and breathe air. So it's just part and parcel of our existence and quality of life. I got involved in this area when I was the only one that looked like me. And I haven't stopped and won't stop.
Excellent. Let's talk about, you are an advocate and a devout educational expert. Talk to us about the importance of education.
As I talked about when I was, I had the honor, in fact, I think it was 2022 or 2023 to, because of COVID, there were 2 graduating classes from Grand Bassa University. And I'm proud to say, Jerome, you and I were an integral part of getting that on the right, getting the university starting out as a community college. I've been in the education field for the majority of my life. I taught in the actual classroom for a couple of years, but I've been a school social worker, dean of students. I've worked as a counselor at the college level. So I know the importance of an education. And you've heard me say many times, and as Dr. Peabody said, I've been heard around the country, and I hope so, because I've always said and continue to say, and I developed this, it came in my heart when I came over in 2004. And Jerome, you hadn't been since the Civil War. And I was watching your face when you were talking about the buildings and the educational system that once was. When I saw little children at the airport that should have been in school and they were selling things. Again, I know the value and importance of an education. And I've often said, and I still say, as I just repeated myself, but an educated nation and a healthy nation is a powerful nation. And we must have both of those if we are any nation really, if they are to survive, and especially embracing democracy and fairness for all citizens, they have to be educated and they have to be healthy.
Dr. Peabody, so far, your turn.
I'm muted. Albert Johnson, thank you again for coming. You've been involved in the education field a lot. You went to Liberia once. Tell me, what was your observation of the education system of our country?
We stayed at the bishop's house. We were fortunate. They were longtime friends of Jerome, and I used to sit on the balcony before we headed out. We leave early in the morning and come back late in the evening. But I saw the children arrayed in beautiful uniforms. They were going to school, but those were schools that were paid for. Their tuition was paid for. I contrast that with what I saw, children at the airport. And the last time I was in Liberia, I do believe it was 2023, Jerome, yes. I think. And seeing so many children on the road selling bread, selling this, selling that. And it still touches my heart. It makes me sad because they need to be educated. They need to be in school. Public education is critical. And things have to be done.
What do you think can be done, Honorable Johnson?
Well, one of the things is, and Jerome and I are always talking about the state of things in Liberia in particular, and it translates to the United States and to Florida too. There's nothing new under the sun, but those who have been put in positions of authority, they must be committed and dedicated to educating the citizenry. Unfortunately, you have people who are so power hungry that they would rather see people ignorant, uneducated, because they can control them much more easily. And that's what we have to take note of. But those of us who are educated, who get involved, we must continue to talk. We must continue to speak up and speak out. Public education is critical. I know here in even the state of Florida, we have these private schools. They call them public, but they take our education dollars and they are not under the same guidelines totally as our public education. And as Jerome noted earlier, when I was a representative in the state of Florida House of Representatives, I was on a couple of education committees. And most times I would preface my statement that private schools and what have you, they have their place. But here in Florida, in this nation, and anywhere around the world, you cannot do away with public education. In educating the masses, public education is the key. And there must be standards for that. So it's important. Those who are in leadership are responsible. Community leaders, parents, the church. The nations need to be educated.
You said it right, Honorable Johnson. And one of the things, having listening to areas that you work in education, you serve at Dane and all of that, will you ever be open if you were to be consulted in terms of providing your expertise to Liberia? If they were to contact you, will you ever be willing to do that?
Of course. When I was there, when Jerome and I were there the first time, And it was, the community college concept was being instituted. And at the time, Jerome and I got in a little controversy because one of the persons who happened to have been on the board, they wanted to use their family facilities to do that. But I gave them an example of how in Florida in particular, we had, the segregation. We had white community colleges and Black community colleges. But when the coming together, the full integration came together, more often than not, the Black colleges were a part of the Black high schools. So when they became a part of the high schools, they built some buildings that were much needed. And that's what happened to my particular high school. We had Lincoln Junior College, and they left a whole 2 wings of buildings that we were able, and the school board was able to utilize. So that's what I thought about in Jerome. And there were people in powers that be that didn't like that idea. Our thing was put the college at Grand Bassa High School, so that once the building was built or the college was built, then Grand Bassa would be left with something good that would benefit, new buildings or reconstructed buildings. So, and I say all that to say that Jerome and I started with these ideas initially. So just to answer your question more succinctly, I have no problem with coming to talk and to guide. Thank you.
I'll go back to Mr. Gayman.
Honorable Johnson, let's go to the next phase of the interview. Let's look at the first time that you and I was in Liberia. We were actually the guest of Jack Klein and the ambassador John Blaney at the time. And we were at the U.S. Embassy, and you gave them an idea as to how they could create massive job creation. You talk about the public work project after World War II. Talk to us about that. Hopefully the present government is listening so they can take cue from when we're talking about creating jobs.
All right. We met with Ambassador Blaney because of my dear friend, Congressman Alcee Hastings, and it gave us an invitation, a pathway to meet with these people. And we talked about jobs, and especially with our program, because we had a wraparound program to deal with the child soldiers. And in talking to them and talking to people here in the United States, trying to engender a desire to help us, is that, these children were kidnapped and taken to different parts of the country to fight. They didn't know how to read or write, but they break down a gun and kill people. We talked about also, and I mentioned this to Rome, when I walked and looked around and saw the hollowed out buildings from fire bombs and all of that degradation. And I think the Masonic Hall, Jerome spoke so highly of that. And when we walked by, because I spent a lot of time just watching his reaction to what he saw. My idea was to put the town in grids for reconstruction and put a temporary housing outside of town, with the jobs, with infrastructure, dealing with viable septic and sewer systems and all of this. And when we were talking with Ambassador Blaney and Undersecretary Jacques-Paul Klein, They started, and I remember Jerome said, if I may, with permission, to interrupt a moment. And he said, Sister Dolores was just talking about because they started talking about that, how to reconstruct Monrovia and the other cities after the devastating Civil War. And so there were job opportunities galore, if it was done right. Unfortunately, when things had calmed down, there were people who were more interested in getting the money that the world was sending to Liberia, the donor nations.
That was we were talking about after World War II they had a massive public work project, right?
Yeah, those public works. Yeah, those civil workers, conservation workers, and that involved, again, as I said, in talking about how do you reconstruct, how do you rehabilitate the cities and the towns in Liberia. And that means with the monies coming in, the people have to be involved. And those were jobs, creating jobs, creating livelihoods. But it had to be the dedication and the integrity and honesty of the people who were in charge. I remember Undersecretary Klein said about 19 people came to him saying why they should be president of Liberia. And that was quite a number. And we know the history on that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was elected as the first female president in any African country. And unfortunately, it wasn't as successful, in my opinion, as it could have been.
Great.
We've been there.
Great. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, we have with us former legislator, Honorable Dolores Hogan Johnson, served and represented our district very, very well and brought in a lot of money. Now, Honorable Johnson, let's talk about allocation, because you were one of the most successful, I would say, money hawk that we have seen in our district that brought in a lot of money. I'm looking at your accomplishment here. 124 million in funding brought to our local area. And I just went over some of them, the local universities, the parks, the airport, you named it. I'm saying this because usually when I go to Liberia and talk to a lot of our lawmakers, and we talk about why they're not building roads and schools and waterways, and they will say to me, well, my cardinal responsibility is not to build school, but to make laws and oversight. So they neglect everything. But contrary to that, when you were representing your district, you didn't just do oversight, but you pay a keen attention to appropriation. Talk to us about appropriation. How were you able to bring this much money at home?
Well, it was a joint effort between, we have two major political parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And you talk about working across. And that's what was done. We have caucuses, and the local governments would send in requests and to be for funding for particular programs and projects. We worked together to do that work. And there were times, you know, when we got vetoed with certain things, but we tried. My effort was to try to work together with the other party, because they were within our district, to bring the money home for the needed things that and appropriations, of course, that was money, and that was needed for infrastructure, for and when I speak of infrastructure, that means clean water, septic, trying to get away from the septic, but sewer systems, irrigation, navigation in our waterways, all kinds of things that municipalities need to function. So, but it's the bottom line is working together with the delegation. We have what is called a legislative delegation. Each district has that, and we get together and try to bring as much funding to our county, to our district rather, that we can, in order for it to function for the citizens, because we're talking tax dollars, and utilizing it well for the good of the communities that are within our district. But again, the bottom line is working together.
Well, Honorable Johnson, I know when I was vice president of the Chamber of Commerce, I was on the legislative delegation that was actually campaigning. And one of the things that you got credit for was $10.1 million in school readiness program. Talk to us about school readiness program and services that is actually the thrust of what we do here.
Well, with school readiness, you know, dealing with programs like we have Head Start, the pre-K or pre-kindergarten, because kids learn so early in life. And whether some parents want to accept it or not, they're the first teachers. So these programs will help the families and the students, because again, education is key. Because we're not going to be young forever. So we need to make sure that our citizenry at every level is educated. So the readiness, are they ready to read? Because children, and this is a worldwide thing, but just speaking in the United States, we look at a critical mark of 3rd grade. You know, when you have the elementary, which is usually 1 through 5 or 1 through 6. And they're expected to be able to read by 3rd grade. There've been kids who've been held back because they didn't meet that mark, because they have to learn to read first. And after that, they're able to read, to learn other things. But that readiness is critical to, I think, any educational institution, program, state, and nation.
Excellent. Dr. Peabody, so far we talked about one of the things that she talked about, that hopefully our government, she talked about job creation, and what she told John Blaney and also Jack Klein, but I was in that meeting because it was a high-profile meeting, and I was privileged to be there. What she was talking about, listen, this city of Monrovia needs to be redone, and the way to do that would be to move some of the folks out, building temporary home out on the outskirts of the city. You will create massive public work. You will hire a lot of folks. After you have broken down, let's say you were to build 2 major highways, right? One from Eastern Monrovia going across to the west, and from north to south. Once you do that, then you break the city into grades, because we do not have a property identification system. So she was saying to them, this is the way to create jobs while doing good at the same time. We need to identify the properties. We need to put them into grids, into blocks, all over the country. And those were some of the ideas that were giving your thought on that, Dr. Peabody.
Streets and avenues.
That's correct.
Just needs, it amazes me how people can find their way, but I guess if they go to a certain area, they'll find it.
Dr.
Oh my
Peabody,
Lord.
I'm find our way.
You know, and I think her recommendation was in place, because how do you get these things going? One area that she touched on was very important that I want to just piggyback to was the education piece. She said you can't be old before you have an education. You got to start from the first, second, and third grades and all of that, where they will place more emphasis on the education. And I know when she was in the House, she brought in a lot of money for education. And those money, you know, what I'm interested in, Mr. Gayman, is to ask Honorable Johnson, you know, because what would the salary when you guys work in the House? What was the salary there at the time? Because apparently in my country, they get more money than even the hospitals, than even the schools, than even areas. So what was the salary for you guys, if you don't mind sharing that with us, so those listening can hear?
I am so sorry, I didn't quite understand, Jerome. You're going to have to translate something, because they're technical.
Yeah, you have some technical. What he was saying was compensation, right? What was some of your compensation? What was your perks? Because in Liberia, they got it's a position of perks where they make all the money. They get cars, they get drivers, they get security, they get cook, they get housing allowance, you name it, they get it all, and the people get nothing. So let's contrast that. Were you assigned a car? Were you assigned security? Did they pay for your housing? Did they give you money for a telephone? Tell us, what was your budget?
We got travel allowance, rental car allowance if we were going back home to our, to the district for whatever, but we didn't have chauffeurs. And so we had a housing allowance that to pay wherever we were staying, be it a private home or a hotel or something. But I mean, it does not compare with what is happening in Liberia and other countries. And Jerome, you and I, several years ago, when they were pushing for the 9-year for senators and 6 for reps, I threw a hissy fit. It's just, but one of the things, where is the money coming from? It's the people have to wake up. The people have to wake up. We get, all of us, and it's human nature, we get stuck on the way things are and allowing things to be done a certain way. But when basic infrastructure, basic needs are not met for the people, I often, when I talk to groups, I talk about that part of the speech that Abraham Lincoln gave on the killing fields of Gettysburg after the Civil War. He said, "This nation of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish." And this government, and the government in Liberia, it's the people. They must stand. They must stand and stop being sold out by a few pieces of silver, because it doesn't last. I abhorred. I mean, I freaked when I saw the number of years that these people agreed to. And it's gonna take voter education.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And those who are involved in community, Jerome, I'm not a politician. I'm a community activist who is concerned about people being educated and paying attention to what's going on. These people are elected to represent us. I remember when I was given the privilege of speaking on the floor, I brought that out because everybody, I mean, even the elected officials, city officials, county officials from our legislative districts, they can't all come up here. So they elect us to represent them well. And there has been a movement. They call it, there's a term called home rule. I don't know if y'all have heard about it, but cities and counties have a certain amount of power to legislate laws and what have you. Well, this Republican-dominated House and Senate in the state of Florida continually usurping that power from the local governments. So that has to be challenged. And that's all over the world. It's just not peculiar to Florida. And
you talk about, Johnson, you talk about 9 years, Ben. I know you were there and you fought, you objected from the very beginning that 9 years was too much power to give someone unchecked. And you talked about the 6 years for the lower house was also. And you were one of the first in 2004, 2005 that signed that allow. And today you have been vindicated. Just imagine giving somebody 2 terms in Liberia is 2 decades. That's 18 years.
It's Jerome, it's obscene. It's obscene. But the people have to speak up. They have to be educated and to know and ask them if somebody gives you $20 US or $30 US, how long will that $20 or $30 last you? When these people are getting all kinds of perks. I was appalled to see, you know, how people, and I'm so supportive of this, little markets, you know, to sell their goods and stuff along the roads. And without calling any names, it was pointed out, this is honorable so-and-so. This is what they did for this community. And it was just a bunch of sticks and with little different compartments. That was nothing. A strong wind could come and blow it down. But again, you cannot beat educating the people. Liberia is so rich. Remember, we constantly hear about the gold, the oil, the iron ore, Bong and Nimba, you know. But you have to speak up, educate and ministers need to be a part of this. And part of the civil rights struggle in these United States, the church was involved. And people got kind of comfortable, but we're going back because the powers that be in these United States are trying to usurp as much power as they can to bring on an authoritarian government. And if you followed anything in these United States that's been happening over the last several months, the people are awakening and we are saying no way.
Excellent.
Oliver Johnson, you talk about the churches being involved. In Liberia, it's different. The churches have become regime churches. Ministers, regime.
I mean, right? they have been bought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. So pastors, they have become regime pastor. They've been bought. So they only preach message of goodwill to the leaders and all those who they claim to serve. They are not really speaking, getting the message from the Lord and telling the leaders how to lead, what to do, that the corruption, all of that. But they are instead sitting there and actually promoting them, saying all the good words from the Bible that the Lord is saying they will be good. The Lord is saying they're blessed. The Lord is saying that they will be leader for 15 years or more and stuff like that. So I don't see that in our country.
Okay, one of the things that, and I am a woman of God. I teach a Sunday school class. I'm becoming a Bible scholar. And just this past weekend, we had a little luncheon with Democratic women, and one of the members was just being so frustrated with the way things have been going in our state and in our nation. But I told her, I said, God is in charge of all of this. And if we believe in God, we better understand and know quickly. He's going to have the last word. I said, you know, in America, I don't know about other nations, they talk about separation of church and state. And this is something you could share with these ministers or preachers, that God ordained governance. And I think it was Isaiah 9th chapter 6th verse, and it talks about the coming birth of Jesus. And they said the government shall be upon his shoulders. He shall be called Wonderful Counselor, all of that. And I took it to the 10 Commandments. They're still relevant to this day. And when I talk to elected officials, I share with them 2 Samuel 23rd chapter, verse 23, 23rd chapter, verses 3 and 4. And it stated these were some of the last words that King David wrote. And it said, the Rock of Israel spake, he who ruleth over men. And whoever is listening, hear me when I say this, because I say this to our elected officials too. He who ruleth over men must be just. They can be representatives, presidents, judges, anybody who has influence and power over people. They must be just, ruling in the fear of God. Start talking to your ministers about that. Take them back to the Bible. Because I remind my students, I said, it is written, not one jot or tittle will change. And jots and tittles are just Hebrew punctuation marks, like a question mark or a period or exclamation point. So if that is not going to change until all has been, what do you think about the Holy Inspired Word of God? That's our guidebook. We're not afraid. You talk to these ministers and you take them to school on the Bible. And I tell people, we don't debate what the Bible said. I don't. But I contend for the faith. Because God is in charge of this. If you say you believe in Almighty God, we got to act like it.
Excellent.
We got
Excellent. Let me welcome Truth in Ink. Seleke, welcome to the show. It's been a while.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. That's how it is. That's some stuff I needed to take care of, took away my time. But I was always monitoring the show, following up the progress, also the effort. It is my understanding being made by the co-owners and leaders in the nation capital. So we look forward to their return and hopefully to hear something positive. I'm seeing a remarkable guest on the show today, been following the conversation. I think it's very, very interesting, and I really admire the knowledge and information she's sharing. So I look forward to engage and participate as the show goes on.
Great. Honorable Johnson, you and I was on Capitol Hill, lobbying for Liberia as usual, and the late Representative R.C. Hastings' office, I agreed for us to bring our legislators and their officers, their office personnel for training. And the question that came from the chief of staff on the Hill was, we have trained a lot of African leaders and their staff in the past, but when they go back to Africa, it says they return to status quo. And they were saying, is Liberia an exception to that rule? and you said it was worth trying. And we brought some folks here, and all that you have done, all that I have done, and we're back to square one. What is your thought?
You know, I followed the last election, and, you know, I gave you kudos and props when you were challenging the representatives from the other party and talking to them about the promises they were making. And I think they had to admit to you, well, we're just talking, you know, we make these promises. And folk are experiencing that right here in the United States too. So we must hold these people accountable for what they say and definitely what they do. It's appalling to see, because, you know, I was talking to a brother from Liberia, and they were trying to organize some things, and, you know, we're talking about monies and stuff. I say, with the wealth of Liberia, what should be talked about is what is the value of the natural resources that are going out of Liberia. I remember when we were going up to our clinic in Desert Town that has not been finished, these huge, humongous timbers from trees that were cut down, they were heading out of the country. And who was making money off of that? So, I mean, I admire these talk sessions and stuff, but it is going to be critical that we start educating the people to pay attention. We've got to put the monetary value on things. And I remember hearing about when President Weir took office and the Treasury was scandalously low. All of those things need to be looked at. They are our representatives, bottom line. They're not lords and kings and princes. They're your representatives. And they need to be reminded of that. Yes, it can be dangerous speaking out. But if you believe in God Almighty, you ask for protection. Ask Him to guide your tongue and order your steps. But we have got to educate the people. That is the bottom line.
Wow.
And these young people have to be educated.
An educated nation, she says, and a healthy nation is a powerful nation. When you look at this gone budget and previous budgets, when you look at what's in health and what's in education, you will come to the conclusion that Liberia is not healthy, Liberia is not educated. And if you do not have an educated nation and a healthy nation, you have a weak nation.
Yes.
Truth in ink and a thought. You are a thinker. That's why I like to interact with you. Brilliant thinker.
Say the question again, please. What?
She says an educated nation and a healthy nation is a powerful nation. If you look at our budget now and the previous budgets, and you look at what's in health and what's in education, does it sound like we have a healthy and educated nation that can make us powerful?
Well, generally, everywhere, and perhaps I could use the United States having it been a model that Liberians often refer to. They believe that in order for democracy generally to be exercised, to be engaged in, for it to be practiced, its citizenry will have to be educated. And so that says they were intentional about education because they believe that it is critical to whatever goal they hope to achieve through democracy. And of course, a democratic nation will of course push for a lot of other opportunities.
Yeah.
So I said I want to emphasize how education, of course, play a critical role in every aspect. And of course, It goes with health, because as it's often said, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. And then when the people are wealthy, when the people are healthy, they are educated, of course, you will have a prosperous society. The best way to explain, the best formula, the best roadmap as to what is intention by the government and even the people towards those two critical components is reflected in the national budget. I am sure over the last century, particularly now that we are boastful of accumulating or hitting to $1.2 billion, a very good number. However, when you look at what the increase will take, then you wonder, is it that we want increase in number, or do we want an increase in expenditure in very critical sectors? I would think that's what it means. Do we become intentional that we are growing our budget, or we will grow our budget because at this point in time, we will focus perhaps on education in a way that no Liberian child, at least up to high school, should pay. Let us develop the private, the school system in the country. Look at it. I don't know, they just dismissed the head of the MCC recently, but look at our school system. We don't want it to be to America where we are, because of course that will be stretching it too far. But even if you were to take it to pre-war status, where the public schools were competing heavily with private institutions, you look at people who look back at the days at demonstration, the days at Torgbean, the days at Gibson and other places. Look at those buildings in the first place. Look at those buildings, tells you where we were focused in that direction. But unfortunately, I don't think our budget says the same of our intention. And like I said today, in response to some of the lawmakers I see giving critical analysis about the budget, I was like, but I see all of these critical states, synapse and development, but I don't see you being critical about the part of the budget that deals with you people. Close to have around 51 million or so. I don't see them making analysis that, look, we think this budget is a contradiction of our aspiration, and so also the component that's restricted to us. So we hope that as it goes to them for debate, the increase in budget should see a significant, I want to emphasize that word, increase in the area of education and health. With clear objective, Gayman, it's not just about chunking the money to institutions. Clear objective in terms of what to be achieved nationally. What do we want to achieve over the next 4 or 5 years of Bwaga State? What do we want to achieve? Do we want to educate close to 20,000 people, high school people, free of charge? Do we want to improve the school system so that when you enter the school environment, both the physical environment can provide that mental nurturing that encourages students to want to stay in school? Can we do that? Can we do both the physical? So, it's just frustrating. We look forward to it. We hope that can be the case also of that. All the things I see, lawmakers and red team criticizing, I see it not more than another form of showmanship, the same political theatrics that Liberians usually do. So that's why I wanted to add in that direction.
Honorable Johnson, we have a new budget, and about 80% of the budget goes to perks, recurrent expenditure, that's salaries, perks, you name it, and 20% to the entire nation.
Jerome,
I've never seen something like this, and it continues to happen. And I know you said it. Until we rise up to the occasion, this is going to be like a broken record.
Whenever I hear those stats, the word that still comes to my mind, it's obscene. It's obscene. And I can't say anything more nasty than that. It's obscene. And things have to change. Things have to change. And we've got to start cultivating young leaders But again, voter education is critical to this, to coming out. Because the other thing you're going to have to consider too, you know, with them taking so much money from the Treasury for themselves, where's the money coming from? Is it from the sales of the resources that Liberia has? I know for years monies have been coming from donor nations, and that's drying up. So, you know, we've got to look at this.
Yeah, Dr. Peabody, you thought that with the USA money and money drying up in other areas that Honorable Johnson just said, you think we would step in to fill the gap and say, you know, we would do this, but instead they are giving themselves raises. So from all what I'm seeing, it doesn't matter how much we raise. It is not going to the people. It is going. Look at it. The speaker gave himself $400,000 raise.
Oh my Lord!
And the University of Liberia has. You were just here. We're talking about it. An outside group is raising money to about 200,000 chairs or 20,000 chairs. Because students at the University of Liberia are standing up in class. And one guy a few blocks away is giving himself $400,000 raise. Dr. Peabody, those of us who are into this thing, those of you into the praying business, what can we do?
Well, the fact is you cannot change a culture that have always subscribed to the same norm. From the time we were kids up to present, from one government to another, they come in and say, oh, we're going to change this, we're going to change that. It's just a broken system that the people refuse to repair. And what Honorable Hope talk about, voter education. Our people don't know how to vote. You know, they just vote based on either instant gratification or they vote based on the popularity of the name, but they don't know much about these people. You know, they don't know what these people have done. Unfortunately, the limited academic of our people, limited education of our people have put them in a position that they don't know what to vote for. So for that reason, they vote for people, they vote for leaders who will even make the condition worse. You know, I mean, you talk about the budget. The NSA has millions in that budget. I mean, a small country like Liberia, you know, everything for security. You know, what is the security situation when you can't even walk down the street 5 o'clock in the morning and somebody trying to attack you? I shared with you when I was coming back on Sunday morning at about 5 driving, was somebody attempted to follow the truck I was in to the airport to remove a suitcase and stuff, you know, and the driver was very quick to notice that person. But what I'm saying is, you're spending millions of dollars and say for security operation. All right, we don't see it. The police is not equipped. Many areas outside of Liberia don't even have. The police don't even have trucks. They don't even have anything. You know, so. But in the meantime, you don't have hospital. Hospital are struggling every day. The only referral hospital we got in Liberia, JFK, they're struggling. You got probably 500 patients or 200 patients to one doctor, you know, and all of that. And the hospital is not equipped. There's nothing really there, you know. Dialysis machine, you probably just have 1 or 2 in the entire country. You know, it's always broken down. So what is the money that is going to healthcare? I believe healthcare was increased by 9 million, you know, but you can send 50 million to security, and you're only giving a percentage to the healthcare on that.
Excuse me, Ms. Johnson. Let me talk to Ms. Let me go to. She talked about when we were in Bassa, we have to get off the road because of the logging trucks with these huge logs.
Yep.
I mean, we talk about these trucks were just coming, and the areas they were coming from, I mean, devastated areas. And the question is, if all the resources are coming from these little towns, what are they benefiting? They don't even have outside toilet. They have nothing. The people are still in the villages going into the latrine, public defecation, basically going in the bushes. But these logs, some of these logs are so, I don't have to tell you, Ben, some of these logs are so huge. The truck can only take maybe 4 or 5 of them. But these trucks are just going. True, talk to us. How do I make sense? How do I make sense to somebody who is a stranger, a lawmaker that goes with me? How do I make sense of this?
You cannot, because in the first place, I tell you, you put the wealth of Liberia in one hand, and you put its result, its application in the other hand. All you get is what we call contradiction. Liberia is a contradiction of its wealth. What do I say in practical terms? I've had the opportunity actively involved in politics to visit almost every part of our country. It will interest you to know that the most underdeveloped places in Liberia, the worst place of human suffering, the worst place of degradation, the worst place of hygiene and everything, are those places with the most of our resources.
Mm-hmm.
The most of our resources, where they are from, are the places where the worst of human degradation, environmental pollution, and lack of access to almost everything. I give you an example. Perhaps maybe 2-3 years ago, we were on one of those regular political trips, and I went to Sano. Having been to other places, but I went to Sano in one of his towns, whose name I can't really remember now. We stopped at the time because it was late, we couldn't go further. So when I sat there in a makeshift hotel together, I decided to come outside to engage with the people. And I learned that that time was the time of one of the richest and biggest gold mine, with Liberia having one of the highest grade of gold, a gold mountain, where you see the Chinese, the whatever national from the world, the Ghanaian, everybody from there in that town. But the place poor, ready, hungry, makeshift. You never just ever imagine that just perhaps on a 10 minutes walk away and where diamonds, gold are taken out to go and service other parts of the world. What other contradiction can that be? As an ordinary person, a single man, you cannot be working a full-time job, having access to money, and of course you say your kids and your home will not be taken care of. That's exactly what that is. Then you go to Bapolu, where logs are. You go to, I was involved in the logging business in terms of handling the logs that go. Go to River Says, man. See the roads. They are not destroyed because of human passage down there. Perhaps the River Says people, maybe if they were counting on Christmas Day, they read about us. So they would not know what is destroying the road then. That the logs coming out of that place. I think we have never had a very intentional, patriotic, organized approach as to how we trade our resources. We have never. We still approach this thing from royalty fee. How you got royalty fee? I need a credit fee that I don't get to the start. The man come and say, look, give me the forest here. Every lot I will get royalty fee. All you need to do to the first one again is simple. So, I mean, I mean, it just sad, my brother. So, in response to your question directly, you are one of the smartest Liberians that I know, very patriotic and very articulate. But I'm telling you, you will fail that test if you attempt to provide a stranger an explanation as to why Liberia resources are so huge, yet its people are so poor. You will fail. You wouldn't be able because it's foundational. And sadly, we haven't been able to approach that.
It's insidious too. I compliment you, sir, on being an eyewitness to this. And part of, you've heard me say, the education of the people, saying in your community, in Riversess and in the other counties, they have representatives. But the people in these villages, they need to be educated because Liberia is giving up some wealth and some money. You mentioned the Chinese. I mean, they're coming in and getting the money. Who's getting the money? Those are the kinds of things that you let the people know that this, okay, a piece of gold, 2 pieces of gold, this isn't educating them. This has a numerical value in US because they know from the Liberian dollar, they know the American dollar. So I'm talking basic education to these people, that this is the value of the gold that's coming from the womb of Liberia, and it's going out of the country. And our elected officials know this, but it's going to take educating each and every, go small villages, just start. You got to start. You got to get a cadre of people and hire some guards too, because they will kill you dead because you're spreading the truth. But you got to pray to God because his protection is better than anything. He will inspire people to help protect you because you're on a righteous mission. You have seen this. You can testify to this. That's why when I talk about education, I'm not just talking about reading, writing, arithmetic, but educating the people to the value of their country's resources. And do a dollar for Liberian dollar, US dollar, basic stuff like that. Because they need roads, they need utilities, they need a toilet, running water. A country that rich in natural resources shouldn't be that poor. And people don't understand, and I may be flippant when I say this. They, gathering the wealth. They want to be the wealthiest person. You die today, and that money's left here. Tell my Sunday school class, you dare put it. You've heard the term grave robbers. You try to put it in a casket. It won't stay there. But we have to educate the people, not just in reading and writing and arithmetic, as we used to say here, but in basic stuff. Watch what's going on. Do you understand? I mean, the little villages in Deso Town, I gave them money. The clinic hasn't been built. This is 2009, and now it's 2025. That's a remote village. They have a little clinic there where people from Bong and Nimba counties were coming for the resource there. And I remember when our treasurer and I went there in 2009. This was after 2008 when Jerome and the cadre of our members met with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I came the following year to sign the contract. And I talked to the superintendent at that time, asking them, can you pull together the superintendent of Bong and Nimba? And I was told, why don't you do it yourself? So I've seen the negativity. But God's got something for them. But we've got you guys, and I'll talk to anybody. but you got to educate the people in that sense also, because they understand money.
Thank you. We have a caller here that is very much interested. Your name and where you calling from? Hold on one minute. Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Reverend Charlie H. Garguah. I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts.
Go ahead.
I just want to commend the Honorable as well as the panelists. This is amazing. I really enjoy everything that you guys are discussing. I just want to make an input.
Go ahead.
The Bible says that a corrupt tree cannot bear good fruit, neither can a good tree bear corrupt fruit. The problem in Liberia, from my perspective, is many years ago, a seed was sown, and I would call it bitter ball seed. And 200 years later, we are coming to reap oranges. It doesn't work. We have to go back and sow a new seed. That's why the Bible says a corrupt seed cannot bear good fruit, and a good tree cannot bear corrupt fruit. There has to be change, and it has to start with the constitution of the people. We, the people, need to draft the constitution. The current constitution we have was drafted by politicians and was drafted to empower and enrich the politician. That's where we are. And so I believe that the starting point, every time you put somebody, you recycle and put another person in a corrupt and broken system, you get the same results. And it has never been done. The Constitution of 1986 was done under the military. It was not a constitution of we the people. The Constitution of 1847, it was not done by we the people because it excluded a vast majority of the people who live in the country. The Constitution of 1824 was drafted in the United States of America in Washington, D.C. by slaveholders who had no interest in the people. And the Constitution of 1820, before the people even got on the ship to come, was not drafted by people of color. We have to go back to the basis and have a new beginning. Sow a seed, you reap what you sow. Sow a new seed, and you reap a new harvest. And currently, the focus in Liberia is on the politicians. That's one thing. And then the final thing I have to say is, we are also part of the problem. When I say we, I'm talking about myself. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. I have dual citizenship. From the beginning of Liberia up until today, it has been a country of first-class citizens, second-class citizens, and third-class citizens. From 1820, the remonstrance of 1823 and 1830 was to challenge that. You have white, for the first 20 years, you have white colonial agents and white federal agents in Liberia, administering people who were black and people who have been promised all rights of American citizenship. In 1847 was the same thing. You have American citizens. We have 10 presidents of Liberia were citizens of the United States. Fast forward to today, we have the top officials of government having two passports like me. You have two passports, and Liberia is the second worst visa refusal country in the world. Our refusal rate right now is 79%, 79.39%, compared to Iran, 53% refusal rate, compared to Afghanistan, 48%. So I can go into Liberia and participate in the governance system because the election is not even free and fair. You have to pay fees from up to $2,500 fees for candidates and up to $1,800 fee for processing the application, plus $10,000 minimum, $10,000 US minimum in a bank account to run for office in Liberia, plus $100,000 insurance bond. The system is broken. The system is corrupt. The system has to be changed, and we have to start it from a new constitution, not drafted by any president, but drafted.
Thank you. Honorable Johnson, he's talking about a corrupt tree cannot bear pure fruits, and the pure tree cannot bear corrupt fruits. So what he is saying is the foundation is crooked, the elevation is bound to be crooked. We have to fix it. Your thought on the Constitution the writing of the Constitution to empower the folk. As it is now, it is skewed and stuck against the average person, he's saying.
One of the things, and again, it's about educating the people and using the media that you have access to. When the brother was talking about all of the resources from the different counties, the people need to be educated on that monetary value of what's going out of their counties. And you do that. If you can't go physically set up, you got to do something, but education is the key. When he talked about redoing the Constitution, we got to make sure that everybody understands what it's going to take. And part of that is meeting with the ministers, because the churches are everywhere. They have a part to play in this. But again, educating by any means and every means necessary. YouTube, TikTok, all of that. Radio stations, television. You got to start and don't stop. But education is the key. Again, I'm not just emphasizing reading, writing, arithmetic, but people know money, and they need to understand the value of their land and their resources, and how much money is going out of the country of Liberia in these individual counties. That has to be talked about, and how can we stop it and benefit? Now, we can't stop it totally, but how can the citizens of the country benefit? And they need to make their representatives accountable. But it's going to start with educating the least of these, because they can talk. They have their dialects and what have you. But you have to get to the least common denominator. In math, they talk about that. Basic stuff. That Liberia is rich, wealthy, but it's in one corner. And these elected officials have to be held accountable.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, we have the Honorable Dolores Hogan Johnson. They call her the legislative hawk or bulldog, because when it comes to appropriation and bringing home the bacon, nobody beats her. She brings home money in the millions for our schools. She funded pre-K. We're not talking about in Liberia, we're talking about university. These people are putting money into pre-K. The importance of pre-K.
That's the background. That's the foundation. That's the foundation. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I remember when Honorable Johnson, we met with Jacqueline, was sitting in his office in the old German embassy, and they talked about introducing the community college system. And you mentioned to him, why community college system? Have you got put in a feeder program to feed children into the community college level? How would these kids how would people get enrolled in these universities and colleges? Do you have a feeder program? And he said that was not the direction that Liberia wanted to take. Expand on the feeder program, which is basically the importance of a feeder program for these high schools and colleges.
I mean, it goes back to that basic education and understanding what, I thought about as you were talking just then, when we took our program over there to help the child soldiers, when talking with Undersecretary Klein and Ambassador Blaney and the other leaders that we had met with, the Episcopal, the church leaders and everything, that education was critical, and that we start you know, with that basic education, because these boys and probably some girls too, they didn't know how to read or write, but as I stated earlier, they knew how to take down a gun and unclean it and put it back together and kill somebody. Part of our program was dealing with those students who showed the aptitude, the intellectual aptitude for the academic track. And I'm speaking of this as being a college counselor too. And the other track was vocational, because some of them had started families, late teens, early 20s, but it was a two-tiered program to get them trained. Those who, again, showed the aptitude and what have you to go on to university. And then we had those who, because of family ties or didn't want to be in the academics, the vocational piece. That's critical. The United States is like being reintroduced to that fact. That, you know, we've had this thing about going to college, and it's not just an academic track anymore. We're training people to be air conditioning and plumbing experts and all of this. And they make more money than some of these people on these academic to become accountants and teachers and all of that. But again, it's about meeting the students where they are and putting them on that track to higher education. Because I tell people, you're still going to college, and they don't need to know that you're on a vocational track as opposed to an academic track, and share the fact that they'd probably make those on the vocational track will make more money hands down than some of us ever would. But again, value in education.
Thank you.
And
ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, tomorrow we're going to have Mr. Kromah here. We'll be talking about Free Liberia. Is an organization that is fighting to make Liberia visa free, because according to them, they have sued the United States government not only because of who they are, but like Martin Luther King used to say, if you write a check, the check has to be cashable. The United States have written a check to Liberia by promising us free visa. So what happened? They're going to discuss that. Mr. Kromah and his team will be here tomorrow. And then on Friday, our special guest will be Seleke Kromah and a group of cyber security experts. We will be talking about cyber security from Liberia. We have, I guess, a president of a university or dean of a university that specializes in cyber security at the highest level. So we are going to be bringing you educational materials. It's not always going to be politics. We're not always going to be gossiping. We're not always going to be cursing, even though we don't allow it here. But this platform is a family education / everything else. We will bring you the best and the brightest in our community. We will profile our own. And Telvi is doing just that. Friday, cyber security. Do you know what cyber security is? Everybody says it. Do we know what cyber security is? Let me segue into that particular aspect. Honorable Johnson, you were able to convince the government. We were able to get $43.6 million at a local college here to build an infrastructure for cyber security, for vocational training, for all of those things that we see here. And right after you did that, because of the management or the funds that come to this particular college, Mrs. Jeff Bezos came in and gave us $45 million to educate minority kids. I want to thank you for that. But talk to us about the appropriation and the oversight. How were you guys were able to put things in place for the college to be on target, to be on time, to construct that beautiful facility that now is world class?
Resource center.
Oversight.
Some of that, you know, that building should have been built several years ago, but again, politics came into view. But we got people involved. It's the Eastman workforce with all the different technologies that's out there now. And we serve a four-county area, the college does. And Mackenzie Scott, that was Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, and she was going around the country giving of her monies. And we, because, you know, when you and I talk with the president, and we do have a good rapport, and talking about the extended educational system, electronic libraries, and all of that, that still hasn't come to fruition yet, but the possibility is still there. Jerome, I want to throw in, not to brag or anything, but I have tried to put my money where my mouth is talking about. And a few years ago, I set up a scholarship, education scholarship for students who are going into education. And I was proud to do that. Also, there was a young man doing tutorials for students in a certain community. So I put forth monies for that and to pay the volunteers a little stipend, and for him too. But these are the kinds of things, those of us who are able to do that, to encourage the students and the people of getting that education, putting the money, not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk. And it takes all of us to give.
Wow. Honorable Johnson was able to establish a foundation in her mother's name at the Grand Bassa University, and people that are into education, they are benefiting from that because she's an educator, so she wants to make sure that the scholarship went specifically to women and men into education, into the teaching field, and they are still benefiting from it. We will pass the information on as we move on. But let's talk about page. When I visited your office, there you had a page system. Talk to us about page system, PAGE, page. What is page and what's the purpose
of the students
page?
Come from schools within the district, and they come up and they do boys and girls. That's all I can say. They help out. They do run messages and do different things, but they have an opportunity to see how the house works. And that same thing across the aisle, across the hallway in the Senate. So they send in their requests, and we choose from the students to apply.
Great. Let me go to Dr. Peabody. In Liberia, when we were growing up, did we have, how they used to call that system in Liberia where the kids go and after school they work in the system, learn the system, how we used to call it?
A vacation job or something?
No, not a vacation job. Tell me, guys, I forgot the term, where the kids would go and learn about government. They will work in offices and actually learn. Yes, and actually learn. I forgot the name of it. Somebody, if you can come up with a name, let's do this. But let me go to Truth in Ink. Truth. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about education. Let's talk about, she talked about training the next generation. Yes, somebody call it cadet.
Cadet, that's it.
There you go. You'll be called cadet. That's correct. Excellent. You'll be. Let's talk about training the next generation, because it looks like in Liberia and anywhere else, if you give the politician time, no young man should be in politics. No young man should take power. No young man should lead. And the countries that are doing well, you will find out that their leaders are young and vibrant. Your take on this thing we call leadership transition. When does it work? And how are we preparing the next generation to take over from the Joseph workers of the world?
I start with saying I'm very impressed with the Honorable Johnson's own commitment and vision towards education, I guess, both in Liberia and in the United States. That's very impressive, and I feel proud in that to know a compatriot, is making such a huge impact. I think, and I like this segment of the program. I think we tend to only focus, highlight on politicians and people in that sphere, whereas there are many other Liberians who are making strides and efforts and serious commitment in other discipline and field. And I think it will start to also highlight that and change a little bit the conversation simply from the political drama in the country to more sustainable and substantial achievements and effort of other people. I think we have, and I think that transition into the question as to how do we now transition from the broadcast arrangement to perhaps the young people. It's simply because I think also we are focused all of the conversation towards politics. To the extent, for example, if a young man like you, young men in terms of not the broadcast age people who may venture to want to provide leadership for the country, the first thing you are evaluated from not on the basis of your capacity and the records you have set, but rather whether you are quote unquote one of the politicians out there. You see, unfortunately, the very young people who should be taking on leadership defined leader not in the context of the skills and ability that they can live, particularly in other areas, but after whether they're one of those politicians, whether they're on the radio every day, whether they're cursing and shouting. If you, Jerome, for example, were to take an electoral contest against Seleke Kromah, 50 times over, he will defeat you, even though you present and you do better than he will ever do. That is the nature of our country. I would think the transition from Bwaka should first be a strong attempt to change the young people mentality. We need to change that, because other than that, we take our leadership, we may not even be prepared or know what to do. And the best amongst us who don't want to necessarily be politicians, quote unquote, are not given the opportunity even from amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We have some great Liberians out there who can do a great job in that country, who can change, they have track record of making impact in a different fields. Unfortunately, society don't give them that chance or that recognition compared to other countries. You go to other countries, people celebrate an engineer, people celebrate a doctor, people celebrate a businessman. In our country, we look for politicians who are not made as a result of preparation, but as a result of circumstance and condition. Once you are able to shout, put data in your phone and call all of the radio stations for 1 year period, you become period. I would hope Robert Johnson can help us understand what transition is Liberia in now, where the entire focus is not on substantial engagement in terms of what a person can put on there, but politics. Everybody in the country wants to be politician because they realize perhaps that's the only way they can survive. So I don't know how. And now, Jerome, before I close on this, you're talking about the cybersecurity thing. Of course, I do have a graduate certificate in that area. It's very important. I would think with the introduction of AI now, that is an area that is its opportunity is just limitless. It's going to go beyond everything, the cybersecurity, because as AI has been introduced, it brings a lot of opportunities. It brings a lot of money, yet it also comes with many challenges and security implications. So, of course, the field of cybersecurity must be elevated. And I think that is one area in Liberia we can create a lot of jobs, because while we have the population, the Indians and Chinese and America's greatest challenge in cyber threat comes from these people, the Indians, the Iranians, and the Russians, because most of these youth not having fully engaged in these things. So just imagine if Liberia was focused intentionally. So look, we will take about 500 to 1,000 person, young people, train them basically in every optimized level of cybersecurity. and then decided later on to export that skill. Do you know what it means when you have, for example, AT&T say we create a hub in Liberia to do network resolution and protection right in Liberia, create it. The workforce is cheap. So it has a lot of opportunity. I'm sure the folks coming out tomorrow or Friday, as you said, will also be able not just to provide us the theoretical approach, but how is it can be translated applicable within the context of Liberia using its young population, its workforce, how we can transition that into a serious ground for cyber security specialists. Something 6 months, 8 months to a year training, you get all the best. So, so I just want to add that there, and hopefully Herbert Johnson can help us understand the industrial, the psychological interpretation of what transition Liberia is in right now.
I mean, it's, so to speak, is virgin territory, but when you talk about the importance of cybersecurity, and it can't be overemphasized, especially with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence. People have gone overboard and say, oh, it's going to rule the world. I said, but you got to stop and think. It's a program, and it's fueled. That intelligence is put in there by human beings, and these human beings are flawed. They can be evil and mean-spirited. I mean, it's two spectrums, for the good and for the evil. So we have to be careful with the advent. The United States is understanding the need to police AI involvement in government and all over. But when you talk about cybersecurity, that can be the watchdog, and it has to be, you got to take time to see and know and understand the damage that can be done to a nation and to the world with the technology that's out there.
Honorable Johnson, Dr. Peabody, I'm going to, I know I didn't want to say this on the air, but I just have to say it because Honorable Johnson is a truth teller and she's here. I remember 2010, I have engaged the Wayne families to go to Liberia and do some investment. And I met with this, the Wayne family, that the people, they do the building hotels and everything else. And he had accepted my invitation to go to Liberia. And he contacted a few folks in the intelligence community in Washington, D.C. And he called me to a meeting. I went to his office and he said, Jerome, I wanted to go to Liberia to invest to help your people create some jobs. He said, but the country, so the corruption in the country is so high.
Yes. I remember that conversation.
That's correct. The corruption is so high. As much as I want to help the folks, he said, you show me all the pictures of the people are suffering, they need help. I could create 500 jobs, but I will not take the risk. Fast forward to Jeff Bezos' wife and the president of the college. We met with him, and he brought along the president of Cisco. And he says, we are going to give the university and you guys will apply for a grant that will be healthy for the people in Grand Bassa, Liberia. He says, but all we are asking for is what kind of accounting system do they use in Liberia? Can they be our fiscal agent enough to pass the federal government's scrutiny here? We put in for the request for Liberia to tell us what kind of system they were using that can be audited by the federal government. And if anybody in Liberia could serve as a fiscal agent, the university agreed to be our fiscal agent. 6 months later, they called Honorable Johnson and I to a meeting and say, the system in Liberia is unreliable, and we are now willing to put our reputation on the line. We will scrap the project. We're talking about millions of dollars. Just what we are talking about, there's nothing concrete, reliable that you can call. Even the e-library,
yes,
that they agreed to put in, they're asking that we put in a simple security system that would not compromise people's security here, the information, and we couldn't even come up with a plan of action. So I'm saying this to say, Honorable Dr. Peabody, what can you tell Honorable Johnson? Can you tell those who are listening, what confidence do you want to give them that we can make this happen?
Mr. Gayman, I don't see it. I don't see it anytime soon.
All right.
Because our leaders have not been a role model for the other younger people. I was talking to somebody and they said, you know what we need? You need a new generation. So you need to build a new, like a boarding school where you're going to put all these children and groom them until they get graduates from high school, so that the system will change. It's just that everything they are thinking now will change to a different level, because the mindset in that country is one way. It's completely one way. You go to the University of Liberia, the only thing the student wants to learn is politics. And they are not even learning the politics the right way, because politics should be something that is interesting, that you can disagree and can agree, but their politics turns into violence. Their politics is as if they are having a more of a civil rights movement, or they are fighting somebody, or something is going on. They don't. All the kids want. That's why we don't have a lot of engineers, cybersecurity specialists. We don't have them in our country, because everybody who goes to the university wants to get into politics, because that's what they have seen. They have not seen real mentor who will mentor them and tell them, this is the area, this is what's going to help you. Or I want to mentor 100 students so that they can walk in another direction, go to a different area to build our country. But all they see is the politics. They feel that if you work in government, you can make money. You can earn money. The fastest way is to get there and be corrupt and to earn money. Secondly, we don't have a good justice system. The justice system favors those who, most of our judges are totally corrupt. They are corrupt to the core, So the problem here is we need a new mindset. We need a new generation. And as my friend was telling me, he said, let's build a whole residential school, dormitories, put young children there, that we can train them to be to the next generation, so that the entire mind about those old-centric behavior will change and they can rise up to the next step. But the young people in that country, they are thinking in one direction. And opportunity, they don't have any opportunity. Let's be honest. Kids going to school at the University of Liberia don't even have access to a laptop. He's getting his assignment on WhatsApp. They are telling him that sending an assignment to them on WhatsApp and stuff like that. So, we need a whole generation overhaul. And that will start, as she said, from the pre-K all the way up. But you will have you need a whole new city, a whole new dormitory, where the kids will just grow there. You feed them, You teach them about the new ways of life and, you know, the modern globalization, what's happening in the world. Probably that will be order help. But I don't see it happening anytime soon, Mr. Gayman. I mean, because I just came from Liberia a few days ago, and everything I saw, it was just so disappointing. And as I walked that street, I said to myself, what a wasted generation. Young, smart kids who could be very productive, wasted.
Did you go? Where did you go? Did you go to Stella Maris and the other university?
No, I went to Monrovia College, and then I went to college in the U.S.
Because they're no, I'm just saying when you were there visiting, because there are schools.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking.
Yes, Stella Marie is. Let me take some of my stuff back. I think Stella Marie is one of the best schools we have in that country, especially I've seen a young lady who was an architect. You know, in fact, there's a project that I'm doing right now in Liberia, and that's a young man who's doing that project, who's the manager for that whole project, and he graduated from Stella Marie. So let me take it back. Stella Marie, they need to encourage the government, need to invest into Stella Marie because they are becoming the building
right there. And I brought that to your attention because when Jerome and I go, there's a room full of computers and students on computers, so we have to be careful. I mean, I get what you're saying, but we can't, because some people will misunderstand that. But the overhaul, I like the academies and stuff, but when I say by any means necessary, the academies, as you were, the boarding school type settings that you were just talking about, and the individual communities, education is the key. I'm telling you, and we got to start. We got to do it.
Honorable Johnson, I know we got about 10 more minutes here for you. I want to talk about two things before we leave. I know one is not sexy. I remember we were sitting with the former ambassador Blaney and Jack Klein, and we talked about, and I asked, what would it take to transform this nation? And he looked at me, he said, Jerome, do you want my honest opinion? I said, yeah. He said, take this from me as a U.S. Air Force general. He says, the Ellen Johnsons of the world, the Bronskins of the world will have to die out. He said, and he says, our hope and only hope is on Jerome Gayman's children, is on Peabody's children, is on Thing's children. Those children are not infested. They are not going to come here hungry. They will be professional. They will be well off. So $5,000 here, $10,000, they will now move them and they will push this country in a different direction. That was Jack Klein. Dr. Peabody, do you believe this is a forecast from the out, not from in? But he said, unfortunately, the Ellen's generation will go, the Brunskin generation. He said, unfortunately, Jerome, your generation will have to go. And your children from the diaspora may come and make a major difference. What do you think about that?
That was 20 years ago, too.
Yes, I was 20 years. I remember I got here already. It was April the 8th.
As difficult as
2005.
As difficult as it is to accept, I believe it's true. You know, some generation will go away.
We need to get out of the way how we
for the time I was a kid. For the time I was a kid, you're talking about 10, 11, 12 years old. There have been people in the Gulf, man, and they are still there now.
Okay. Well, somebody said we should open the line real quick. Is Myean there? Can we open the line so some folks can call you? Don't tell me what to call it. But yeah, it is as painful as that is. My generation, he said, would be maybe the last generation of foolishness. Yeah. My children and Peabody's children, and Sidiki's children, Telvi's children. Those children will go to Liberia. We should encourage them when they go. They are not going to be hungry. They are going to be professional. They're going to be well trained. They're going to come from a professional setting, and they will make the difference. But if we rely on us here, forget it.
But one thing, Mr. Gayman, is let also educate the one back home.
Oh, yeah. That's what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. It's a two-pronged kind of thing, right? But for that to happen, we have to be willing to give way to the next generation of thinkers coming along. It shouldn't just be us, because some of them are doing all they can to hold on to power until death do them part. And I think you got to give Ellen Johnson Sirleaf the credit. She served her term, and she left, and still working behind the scene, working with the women, working with the girls. That's what it's going to take. It's not that you hang on until you died in office. So she set that example. You serve your term ends, you leave, and let somebody else come in. Honorable Johnson, we have, as difficult as it is, the Liberia conundrum, we are here asking folks. And one of the things that we have been very privileged to have been to the highest places in DC, everywhere else. So when we are talking, we talk with some sense of urgency about our country. Something that the late Honorable R.C. Hastings, and you remember when we had dinner with Mr. Johnson, the owner of RLJ, and he said one thing Liberians don't understand is this thing they call the PPP, the private-public partnership. When you go to Liberia, the Liberian government is asking you to build a bridge for them, build roads for them, and their own money. They got no skin in the game. They take their money and put it in their pockets, and they want you to build bridges for them, build roads for them, build schools for them. And he said Liberia does not understand the PPP, and it looks like they have no interest. Talk to us a little bit about putting your skin in the game. If you're asking someone to help you build a bridge, instead of saying build a bridge for me 100%, it would make sense to say I come with 50%. You can't help me with 50%. But Liberia have not gotten into that yet.
With the way things are happening around the world, the ascent again of Donald John Trump and cutting, all boatloads of money out of different programs, USAID and the others. My prayer, and I share this whenever I can, that we must educate the countries, the citizens, and I think about Liberia, but in my Kenyan sister, we have to educate these people that they understand the monies that are coming into your country, because the time should be gone when these donor nations are dropping bags and boatloads of money into these countries and turning their backs. That's when the money gets taken, stolen, reappropriated, and all kinds of negativity. But the civic education, as my sister Miriam would say, and educating the people. This country, say the United States, we're giving your government X amount of dollars to build safe and decent housing, strong infrastructure for clean water, sewer systems, and septic when necessary. But water systems for agriculture and to build, groves and water for the animals and growing grass, for those. But all of those things, we have to have trusting people to administer this And again, like I said, the dropping of the money and turning your back, that should no longer be the way of doing things. That they're accountable. That we come into the country when we're having them accountability. What are you doing with the monies that we gave you? That's a new day. And again, it goes back to educating the public by whatever means necessary and whatever ways are necessary. Because again, I just can't say enough as wealthy in natural resources that Liberia is. And I even look at China and India. There should be no poor people groveling for just a meal. But we can change things. And as Brother Peabody alluded to, start getting these schools together, these academies of leadership, however you want to term it. But we've got to train up the new leadership.
Thank you very much. You have spent enough time with us. We will ask for your parting comment. Thank you very much for 2 hours, Dr. Peabody, our guest.
Yeah, I think it was an honor to have her here. People listening are very much encouraged by very, very strong words here today. Liberians, if we can learn from what you are saying, your emphasis here tonight has been education, education, education. And I hope those listening, government official listening, can tap into your very rich knowledge ways to help them. I want to thank you for joining us. I hope you will make yourself available again. We'll really love to have you back here. Maybe one day have the Minister of Education or somebody from the Ministry of Education to come here and talk to you. But Honorable Johnson, it was a delight having you, and we look forward to bringing you. Thank you for coming on the closing.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Honorable Johnson, somebody wants to say hi. Go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Hi, Honorable Johnson. My name is Sabrina Cole, and I'm calling from Texas. How are you?
Good. What part of Texas?
Good. I mean, not Dallas. So around the Bikini, that's that side of town.
Dallas?
Okay. Yes.
North of Dallas.
Okay.
So north of Dallas. So where is called that part of town?
Yes. Right. Yeah, I lived in San Antonio, and I have family in Houston area.
Oh, okay. That's close to Austin. I used to live in Austin 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's the capital, Austin.
But I wanted to say thank you. Thank you first for taking your time to be on today. I would certainly appreciate you. And even just taking your time to go to Liberia, get involved with our country and your experience. And, even what you're doing just locally, I was listening, about the grants that you're able to gather for the, for funding that you're able to gather, everything you've done and continue to do. Sometimes
thank you.
We don't say enough thank you for service, especially community service and just service to the, on all levels. So I just want to say thank you to you.
All right. I appreciate it. I hope it's inspiring more people, because we've got to have funding to educate the people there. We have the people from Liberia coming here. Many are doing very well, but you've got to remember the homeland. So continue to pray for your nation, for Liberia and other nations.
And that's why that's one of the reasons why I called, because most times, like somebody been talking about different platforms, we're so focused talking about politics and everything, and now investing in the next generation and investing in our talent pool. And so there's something that Mr. Gayman and I have been working behind it. We just want to rewrite that story. We want to have a segment, if not every week, where we can showcase our talent, whether it be a mental health, nursing, or cybersecurity, which is my background, and and other things. And so bring all those talents together to educate the next generation. But realize that, okay, if we can't go to Liberia now, where we find them is where we're going to meet them. And they are online. Right. They are online, they're on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever it is. gonna beat them right there.
That's why I say we have so much media. You know, the opportunity to communicate is there, so we use those avenues to educate.
Yeah. So I also want to encourage, before I close with this, for the viewers, on Friday, I know one of the panelists mentioned, on Friday we'll be having a discussion on cybersecurity and AI. Cybersecurity, sometimes people think it's just one big role. No, there are several different tracks and disciplines. So join, come learn, come with your questions. Even with AI, you know, there's so many things now with AI. The kids are using it in a bad way. We talk about the ethical, we talk about responsible use. So please join the conversation and invite somebody to join the conversation.
Thank you. And Honorable Johnson, before you go, I forgot, you are an AKA. I want you to talk about the AKA real quick, and then I want you to talk about you are a breast cancer survivor. Talk about the two things quick. I forgot.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. It was the first Black Greek letter organization in the United States, and organized and chartered at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And I have been a member since 1978. We were the first, and all the other sororities honor us by imitating in the sense of getting together. Many of my friends are in the other sororities, but we were the first, and supreme in service is our motto. And yes, I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And that's why it's so important that health, people understand. I was just talking with a friend of mine today and talking about, he was on goji and ginseng and just taking herbs and stuff, and it took down his blood pressure. And I reminded him, that's one of my other prayers, to remind all of us that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. And we need to understand we cannot medicate ourselves to good health. And indeed, medications have their place, but in moderation. And understand that this body that God created, this wonderful body, can heal itself, but we have to give it the nutrition that it needs to do that. So again, a healthy nation and an educated nation is powerful.
Excellent, excellent. Honorable Johnson, thank you very much, and I look forward to bringing you back. Come and talk to us. I think that the ladies are trying to put together survivors of breast cancer or cancer survivor, and I told them that I was going to ask you if it fits your schedule. You can join the panel. Yeah. And okay. Thank you very much, and God bless, and I will talk to you.
Thank you all for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Good to see you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bye-bye. Bless y'all too. We're in this together.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, guys. When the honorable leaves, there you go. We can now go to our own evaluation. What did you think, Honorable Peabody, about the honorable?
I think she was. Let me first say she was a gift. You know, her experience in the public and private sectors was just enough. She had enough to share. She had enough to say. And dwelling on education, the key. She talked about the key. Education is the key, and that's the only way. If we educate our people, then the mindset and the mentality of our people will change. So I think many who watched the show today got a lot from it, learned a lot. If you didn't watch, you miss a lot. But I think the honorable was just in place, which as to everything she talked about. She touched on a little of everything, from our personal health to our spiritual and to and the physical work. And I think popular culture and all of that. So I think she really struck a mark here today. I think that was wonderful. Wonderful.
Well, ladies, we are talking about someone that's well-rounded. She's, like you said, she's an AKA, and she lays by her motto. The motto is excellence in service. So whatever they do, it's not going to be better. It's not going to be good. It has to be excellent. And when she was ordained, folks that know her will tell you, you do not want to go into her office because 89 was not good enough. There's a room for you to make 90. And 95 wasn't good enough because there was room for you to make 99. So she pushes. And she took the same attitude into politics. We are talking about lots of money. One person were able to bring. One person, one woman. She was a minority in the House among Republicans. And like she said, she worked the aisle, making deals, swapping votes, nothing personally. They only pay housing allowance when she travels, and they give you car rental. Rental. You don't have any security, you don't have any chauffeur, you don't have any of that stuff.
Right.
If you were living in somebody's private home, you rent somebody's private home, you do the contract, they pay it.
Yep.
But not in your own home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be in your house and they pay you, cut a check to yourself.
You so, right?
So Liberia is just a different country.
Different culture.
Yeah. How we say we took the American system to Liberia and then perverted it to this extent where we eat everything and leave nothing for the poor.
We took it and broke it.
Yes. And here we are. But guys, tomorrow we're going to have Reverend Krua and the new organization, not new organization, but the Free Liberia movement. These people are so steeped in history. They will bring documents that will scare the hell out of you and myself. And like the folks say, if you want to fool the uneducated person, whatever it is you have, put it in a book because they don't like to read.
Right. So
these people will go and dig deeper and bring everything that they have and say, this is what the promise you made. That Liberia will be visa free, just like Puerto Rico and everybody. So what happened then? These are the questions they are asking, and they are willing to take the federal government to court.
Wow, that's a big group.
Yes, Martin Luther King said it. He wrote us a check, but that check bounced. If you write a check, you should be able to cash that check. America wrote Liberia a check, and we have not been able to cash that check.
Wow.
So they are here, and they are fighting. We're going to have them here tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to have television and cybersecurity. If you know anybody, we are not going to know Europe to bring white people to tell us. We are talking about our own Liberians that know about cybersecurity, that are working in the field, that have expertise in the field. We want to bring them and showcase them.
Right.
And Mr. Seleke here, the brilliant writer, he has certification in cybersecurity. So Friday, he will be on hand to bother us as a panelist to help us out, because I'm just going to sit back and relax, because when I see the AI thing that people do, Peabody, the people can make you talk. Somebody looks like you.
Right now, they're using
your voice. Your voice.
They're using the voice now to make your own music. Your voice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look, some guys scam a lot of people in Liberia. He sent them something. The person sounded like me and say, "This is Jerome Gayman. I'm in Liberia. I'm struck at the airport. I lost my ticket. Can you guys give me?" All you guys saying, I know my friend Ralph G-Man. He sent $75. One of my nephews sent $100. Somebody sent $75. Then finally they called me and said, "Did you get the money?" And I said, "Why money?" "Oh, you were stuck at the airport or something. You need to get ticket to go back to Florida and blah, blah, blah." I said, "I am in Florida." Before they knew it, it was late.
Yeah, it was already late.
This is the downside of cybersecurity AI.
Yeah.
And Telvi and the crew, they are going to be here. And they're going to be talking to us. Not only that, we're not talking about people who got a major in cybersecurity. Don't tell me I got my degree in cybersecurity, but I've been working as a chef. No, you are not a cybersecurity expert. You only got a degree in it, but you're not even working in a degree. You're not even working in the field. So don't come here with that stuff. We are talking about folks who are teaching the stuff, working the stuff. They are consultants, they are contractors, they are working. So tell me, we're looking for a great show on Friday. I'm coming here to learn. Hopefully, it will save me my life, a few dollars. So we thank you, Doc.
Yes.
I think we'll call it for the day.
I think we'll call it because the station, the internet.
Yeah, you need to rest.
Yeah.
I know. Travel to Liberia, 7 days and back in little over a week. That takes a toll on the body.
The drive to Sierra Leone was not a joke. I'm telling you, especially on the Liberian side, they driving through Bummy County Road. That's a complete nightmare. And then driving to Sierra Leone, it was long, but the road was very good. Then we had a flat tire on the road. So I had to change that tire, and then we drove. So I left right about 5. I reached Sierra Leone like around 4 o'clock in the evening. And then I had to come back a day later.
Jem Maboro, you probably would like to start. I think Jem Maboro is a crew. I think she got some crew.
Jem Maboro, don't talk about CDC or she'll come right after you.
She just loved to look for trouble. Now she look for trouble. Tell me was a nurse. I don't know about that. You just looking for trouble. She just want to fight everybody. Oh, I think she related to Theola Gibson because every time she see me, she want to fight for nothing. Someone said, "Come in." She going for me. I said, "ANC, she going for me." She said, even if she was in a hall and I get a heart attack, she would not give me CPR. Theola, I still love you. You are still my girl. I don't care what you say. It's CMC and it's ANC business. Don't worry. Jen,
what's your
you too frosty.
Today our reporter.
That's good. Guys, thank you very much. Let's do this tomorrow. Let's be on time.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing the show. We are having problems in Liberia, the technical folk, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Hopefully Friday we'll be able to get it all together. But that's the country we got. What can you say?
Nothing.
Today you got light, tomorrow you don't get light, but it's all right. We'll be there. Thank you. It's a fake profile. You hear that? You seen that? Peabody? So what tell me say? Is a fake profile using a woman's name.
I'm gonna do that though. To do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's correct. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, sir. Have a good one, guys. Thank you for watching the closing argument. We thank to the guys who have held it up, Mr. Gayman and the rest of the crew. Sylvester Pewee, Tomalin George, still they'll be coming further soon. But again, tune into the closing argument tomorrow. And then on Friday, there's a lot of interesting show lineup. So thank you guys from my end here in Pennsylvania. We say have a good night and see you tomorrow. Talvina Cole, good to see you, man. Very good to see you. And thank you for your good message, welcoming me back. Good to see everybody. Jen Maboro, Telvi, all the guys watching, everybody. I can't call your name. Nora Hope, good to see you. Seleke Kromah, good to see you. Sarah was here earlier. Good to see you, Sarah. And everybody else, if I didn't call your name, Actual Factual, always. Joseph Mbali Walakide, good to see you, man. Mozart Dennis, always is good to see you. Miss Julia Duncan Cassell, it's so good to see you as well. Spako and Koti, good to see you. Billy Weir, good to see you as well. And to everybody, we say have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
But listen to, did you hear the press conference of Seleke Kromah, the IG? He did say that this is a highly political case, did he not? So you don't take the partisan's word for it, you take the IG's word for it.
We elect on 85 irresponsible men what they happen to our country. We elect on 85 irresponsible men to govern this country, not to be very irresponsible.
Please place your left hand on the Bible being held by your wife, and you will kindly raise your right hand, sir, and repeat after me. All standing, please. I, Joseph Newman Boyka Sr.,
This is
no secret now that your friend and former boss will be a candidate in 2029. With all of that you experience, all of that you know, and everything that you see unfolding in the country now, will you support him? Will you be part of the process? Will you give him the support? Do you think he can be a better president?
So why you want to bring political Ben in it or not?
Oh, but you political you're political man, before you go out.
I plead the fifth again.
Okay. When 2029 come and pass, then you finally leave. Mission is completed. Now what the rules of engagement? When the war ended, the guy said, the captain, the commander said, mission complete. There wounded Alphas, all men on board.
So, this riot situation when it comes across it, because many times you notice that
If Charles Taylor is the problem, he will be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. And I say, let well-meaning Liberians come home. If we respect this constitution, a government formed in Accra is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. Let them come home. Let that government be formed in Monrovia.
On the broadcast administration, we want to give the government of Liberia an ultimatum of 72 hours to provide a living ballot of the chairman of the Student Unification Party, or else there will be a catastrophic pneumonia in the Republic of Liberia. To arrest the chairman of the Student Unification Party, intimidated about the Vanguard Party advocacies.
The government got capital road, small road, big road, all kinds of places. I think the reason Joseph Baka will not do much because the old man, the papa is suffering. The papa loves the country, but he can't make it. The criminal there around him, they sophisticated than him. They are sophisticated criminals, so they can't make it.